Welcome back to Real Talk with Closer Control, the show where we sit down with real investors doing real deals and talk about what's actually happening in the market. So it's just honest stories, smart systems, the wins and the losses that actually shape the journey. Today, I'm joined by Marcel Friday, an investor who's been making serious moves in the wholesale as well as disposition space. So if you guys are ready, let's get right into it. So Marcel, thank you so much for being with us here today. Could you please give us a small introduction about yourself, your journey, and also a little bit about your investing as well as wholesaling business?
Yeah. So tell you guys a little bit about myself. My name is Marcel Friday. I'm a 23-year-old real estate investor, originally from Frederick, Maryland. I now do deals and I live in Savannah, Georgia. We run a wholesale operation where focus on buying creative deals, doing lease options, wholesaling properties, sometimes buying and holding properties as well. Yeah, so we do a little bit of everything and excited to share.
That's great. Thank you so much for giving us a small intro, Marcel. And if I may ask, what are the market areas you're currently working in right now?
Just Savannah, Georgia and Augusta, Georgia.
Okay. And are you seeing any particular trends in today's market which is different from compared to last year?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we're in a totally different market than it was last year. Last year, it definitely started to become more of a stabilized market. Now I think we're definitely seeing more of a stabilized market. A few years ago, just maybe 3 years ago, it was a major seller's market. In that sense, basically, if you were a seller and you were putting your property up on the market, you were able to sell that thing for 100, 105, maybe even 110% of value. Mm-hmm. That's not happening as much anymore. We're running into way more of a balanced market. And what that looks like now is a lot of properties are selling at 95% of value, 90% of value, and sometimes it's actually easier to get on the market from what we've been seeing. Why is that happening? You know, we got a new president, we got tariffs, a lot of new stuff kind of happening in the market. So as we know, with real estate, things happen a lot slower than the stock market. I know you guys have been seeing a lot of ups and downs in the stock market lately. With real estate, it's been more stable. We haven't had a super high appreciation year like we've had in the past couple of years where we're getting 7, 8, 9% appreciation. But properties are still going up in value. But what we are seeing is properties are sitting on the market a little bit longer, right? The average days on market now, at least here in Savannah, have went up by at least 15 days comparatively to last year. So something that we're paying attention to as well when it comes to our holding properties and the properties that we're flipping as well.
And what would you say would be the biggest opportunity right now in the current real estate landscape?
The creative space, and the creative space has so much opportunity in it. And I'm sure Connor's talked to you guys about it. I'm sure all you guys are hearing it. But for us, the past 5 deals that we've done, 4 out of 5 of them have been creative. And the reason why that's happening is the past few years, a lot of people have been buying these properties with super high interest rates and they no longer want to live there. But because the markets haven't been appreciating 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% like it has been the past few years, they don't have too much equity, right? So due to that, they're kind of forced to go the creative route. They're going to a lot of these cash guys, and if you guys are wholesalers and real estate investors, pay attention to this. They're going to a lot of these cash guys, they're offering them 75 cents on the dollar, because that's what we do. And you can't make a deal happen. They bought this property last year, for example, for 220 grand. They owe 218 on it, and it's worth 225, right?
Yeah.
And that's happening a lot right now. And so after 6% real estate commissions, closing costs, all that good stuff, you're going to end up losing money. So companies that are starting to explore creative more and starting to pitch creative more and starting to tell these sellers, hey, look, we can come in and actually take over the current loan that you have and give you a little bit of cash. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And do you have any system in place where it'll help you automate your deal processes, or are you using any particular system now?
Yes. And so that's why I love Closer Control, man, because Closer Control has made the process 100 times easier, right? When it comes to not only doing follow-ups, not only when it comes to pitching creative as a whole, and I'm sure a lot of you wholesalers and real estate investors and agents as well are running into the same thing. Yeah. The hardest is following up with sellers. With Closer Control, I don't know, it makes everything just so much easier. The other day, me and Connor were actually chatting. I said, dude, Closer Control actually let this person know that we're open to taking over their monthly payments. And he's like, yeah, they gave a pitch for me, right, for creative. And if they raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in that, it's easy for me to jump on the phone with them and go ahead and close them. So Closer Control has been the number one software that I use. I use other softwares as well, but Closer Control has been the biggest difference in my business.
Okay. I mean, that's great to hear, Marcel. And what would you say would be like one of the most recent deal or a success story which you were proud of? Do you have any story which comes to your mind?
Yeah, so there's a deal that we had that we just bought. This was a 2.5% interest rate deal. So kind of like the exact situation that I was just mentioned. This property, they had bought it for, I believe, $210,000 in 2022. So they had a lower interest rate on the property, and the market was suggesting that the property was only worth about 225 in its as-is condition. Using closer control, they were actually able to constantly follow up with this guy. I thought this guy wasn't ready to sell. Closer control was able to actually, let me know that the guy was ready to sell. I was able to get on the phone with him, pitch my creative offer to him, and actually go ahead and buy that property. That property, to tell you a little bit about it, the monthly payment is $1,179, and we're going to be able to long-term rent that property for anywhere from $1,800 to $1,900 a month. And we've got a killer interest rate on that deal. So, yeah, that's a recent success story that I've had.
Okay, got it. Just like a couple more questions on my mind. So, what would you say is the biggest life lesson you have learned throughout your wholesale journey, real estate as well as wholesale journey?
Biggest life lesson I've learned throughout my real estate wholesale journey as a whole, and that trust but verify, right? Trust but verify. A lot of people in this space, will say this and say that, but you want to verify. You want to ask questions. You want to make sure that whatever it is that people are telling you, whether it be an ad agency, whether it be a CRM, you want to make sure that they have proof.
Yeah.
For example, with closer control, like I'm pretty sure with the people in closer control, they're collectively doing over $1 million a month in revenue. So that this actually works, right? That the CRM actually works. There's a lot of CRMs and there's a lot of software and people and coaching programs where they suggest that these things work and you're expected to get these certain results. But I highly recommend you guys to trust but verify. And what that means is basically ask for social proof, right? Show me exactly what it is that you're telling me. Show me something that you've done before. Mm-hmm. And I think Closer Control does a great job with that, because I know so many killers who are in Closer Control, who use Closer Control, who are doing 5, 10, 15 deals a month, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. So I can just go to them, being a Closer Control client, and just ask them questions, and just reach out to them, because we're all part of the same kind of ecosystem.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the thing is, we are sort of like helping to build out like a community so that like all the investors can actually come together, help each other with their creative deals as well as their wholesaling business. So yeah,
exactly. And it's super cool because, in fact, in most communities, you have a bunch of people who aren't doing deals.
Yeah.
And with Closer Control, I mean, it can help you go from 0 to 1, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, all that good stuff as well. But what I've noticed with Closer Control, there's so many people actually doing active deals. So we're getting real world information. It's cool that you have this podcast called Real Talks, because dude, you're getting real world information from people who are actually in the field doing the business.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, like one last question before I let you go. What's the one piece of advice you could give out to the upcoming real estate investors who want to get into this space? People who are actually interested in pursuing this profession.
So the advice I would give them is, number one, get a CRM. Right? Get a CRM, whether it be Closer Control, whether it be, all the other CRMs. Get a CRM as soon as possible. Because for me, I made multiple six figures without having a CRM, without having proper documentation, without having my calls recorded. Now I save so much time. I can literally just say, hey, go listen to that novation pitch I did yesterday, right? Go listen to that seller financing pitch I did 2 days ago. It makes everything so much easier. So the advice that I give to people is, look, go get a CRM. I highly recommend you use Closer Control. And the reality is, once you have a CRM, a lot of the time, people with, CRMs are getting into the wholesale space. They think that, okay, I'm not going to have to spend any money. And that's possible. You can get deals without spending money. But the thing is, when you're generating leads, you don't want your leads to fall through the cracks, right? Like that's the biggest issue that anybody ever runs into within wholesaling, leads that fall through the cracks. So you have to have a system that makes sure that doesn't happen. So my biggest advice would be get a CRM as soon as you can. When you start generating leads, plug those leads into your CRM and let AI do it.
Thank you so much for sharing that lesson, Marcel. Folks, here we have it. Thank you so much, Marcel Sunday, for being here with us for Real Talk with Closer Control. Tune in next week, where we will be uploading new stories with new investors sharing their experience in the market. So that'll be all for today, folks. Thank you again, Marcel. Guys, have a great Sunday.